Welcome to another episode of the More Than Sunday podcast. We are at episode 8.
Hey, let's go.
Episode 8.
We're 2 away from 10,
Yes,
dude.
we're so close to 10. We got something special for you guys for episode 10.
Yeah.
Double digits.
I think we're doing another conspiracy theory like when we did the Labubu at episode 5.
We'll do something fun like that. And we're getting closer to Christmas too.
We are getting closer to Christmas.
Right.
We got to think of a Christmas thing.
We got to think of a Christmas. So if you guys have anything,
Yeah.
drop it in the comments and we'll get to it, or message us or whatever it might be, and we'll do something for Christmas. But we're in a different location.
We are in
today.
a different location.
We're in a
yes.
different spot. We're not in my office.
Yeah, thank God, because it's so hot.
It is very hot in there.
We have a little aircon in here, so let's help it out.
So, fun fact about my office,
Yes.
before we intro our guest, I have an aircon,
Yep.
and it works well.
Yeah, it works well.
But the problem is that there's a massive window. Basically, one wall of my office is just a window.
Yeah.
And it's great for views.
Yes.
But in winter, as soon as it hits summer, dude, it's wraps.
It's
okay.
cooked.
And if you aren't putting the aircon on for at least a couple hours or an hour before, you're going to feel it.
And even
right?
on, it's like a V8 engine, dude.
Yes.
That's why it's
Yeah.
like we're like sweating some episodes
Yeah.
by the end. Like we
just want to wrap it up quickly because it's getting hot. But
Yeah.
we are here in the DSM lecture room.
in the DSM lecture room, which if people might have thought at Young Adults on Wednesday that it was secretly just an advertising sponsored thing, because you kept mentioning DSM.
Yeah, I did. Yes, young adults. Those who are at Young Adults on Wednesday, it was like it was basically a plug for DSM.
It was fun.
Yeah, it was. But we got into it, and actually, you know what was crazy though
What?
about Young Adults on Wednesday, and I got to intro our guest. But you know what? Let's intro our guest, and we'll get into Young Adults.
Okay, we're going to intro our guest.
All right, so. Here with us today is my lovely wife, Chelsea, Pastor Chelsea. She's here today.
Yeah,
welcome.
thank you. I'm so excited
Yo.
to be here.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Claps, applause.
Yes,
All our
let's
live
go.
audience is clapping right now.
Yeah, they love it.
Wow, yeah,
It's
the
great
wall.
to be here. Yeah. We're probably
Yes.
going to get more views because Chelsea is on here. But
No,
It's
no,
true, it's
no.
true.
Yeah.
Hey, Chelsea's the first woman on the podcast.
Yes, we believe in women preaching.
Yeah, that's right.
And,
Shout out women. All women. Shout out.
We love the Book of Timothy, and it's great to have you here. And we're going to talk about
so excited.
we're going to talk about our marriage relationship.
Yeah.
Part 2 of one of our previous ones,
Yeah,
right?
episode
And-
6 where we talked about relationships.
Yeah.
It's kind of like the part 2. So if we talked about singles in the first one,
Yeah.
now we're talking about like
Yes.
marriage and early marriage.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
But
great.
you wanted to mention something about young adults.
Oh yes, back to
Yes,
Young
back
Adults,
to
and
Young
we'll
Adults.
get into the rest of the episode. But Young Adults on Wednesday night,
Yeah.
we had a great time, right?
Yeah, it was really good.
And
Great.
we had a really good time. And
Yep.
I think it's what
It was a panel. You had
Yeah, we did a panel.
You had Lacey
Jared and
and
Lacey.
Jared. Yeah.
Lacey and Jared on there. Now, 2 different opposite sort of life stories and testimonies of what God has done in their life. You know, Lacey in ministry,
Yeah.
now full time and leading the kids ministry here at church, and she's also obviously she was studying in nursing, and then God changed her heart. And then Jared was from a whole nother country and he's moved over here with nothing. And I remember when he first came, me and my brother Jack, we took him out for to the gym.
Yeah.
And we spent all day with him. And it was really funny because he had no one, legit no one. So he just wanted to spend all day with us. We spent all day and it was good fun. But then we spoke about calling. We spoke about spiritual gifts. We spoke about how we are called to more as believers, and every believer has a calling. Every follower of Jesus has one. We spoke about that. We spoke about their stories. Then we went into DSM, and we went into like how much DSM changed my life, how much it changed Lacey and Jared as well. And it's really cool. So if you are interested in DSM, because at Young Adults, we actually had a few messages afterwards, right?
Yeah,
From
they were
people
key.
who are really already interested in DSM and
Or
now
just
they want to
beginning.
do it, or maybe they were like looking into it and they don't know what to do. But now they're like, oh man, we want to do it. So if you are interested or whatever, go on social media. We have Dunamis School of Ministries page on social media. And I think also you can just contact, if you're part of our church, you can just contact Pastor
office
Josiah or
or-
Erica
yeah.
or the admin or whatever it might be, or let me know even as well. And I can pass you on to them. But
Yeah, what was that notification on your phone? $20 from Pastor Sean for advertising.
yes.
another
Wait a
DSM
minute.
ad?
Actually,
$50.
2,000.
Oh, 2,000.
Yeah, that was 3 zeros.
Wow,
So
yeah.
thank you, Pastor Sean, for that. That was amazing. So,
Oh my
Bruh.
goodness.
All right, so we're going to get into the episode.
Yeah.
We're going to be talking about, obviously, relationships, early marriage, what we've learned so far in marriage, 3 years of marriage.
Yes.
Oh, 3 years already. Wow.
Yeah, coming up on 4.
Dang.
So, we want to get into that, and obviously so much more to go. Very young in marriage compared to other people, but still, you learn things and you pass it on. And we might even talk about our dating. I think we might go into that and, our courting and stuff and how that, was and what we learned in that now. And how much trouble I got into. But anyway, so we'll get into that and it'd be great.
I think we should start first of all. Well, Jake, I feel like every second podcast episode you bring up Chelsea running around the car park in your early dating life. So Chelsea, do you have any embarrassing stories about Jake in your early dating life? Because I feel like this is like the time.
Oh, okay, I got one.
Good, let's go.
Not
Just be nice.
though.
Just be nice,
I think it's actually not as embarrassing as my one. But okay. This is going on the tattoo trend. But my mum doesn't like tattoos, right? And I told Jake this from like the get-go. And I was like, my mum doesn't like tattoos. Just letting you know, she'll still like you, but that's just her own personal preference because everyone's everyone can have their own opinion, right? And so one morning we were going, he picked me up to go pray. Like we had this prayer walk group in YA. And he came.
No, joking.
But actually good story on that too. Oh. He lived right next to like the park that we prayed at. Oh. But I lived like 35 minutes in the opposite direction. Oh. So he actually came he left at 4 a.m. to come pick me up at 4:30 in the morning. And then we got there by 5. Yeah. So that like just showed me everything. But also, when he picked me up, I was like, come meet my mum because my mum really wanted to meet him. And he had a T-shirt like this on. And obviously his arm was showing like his tattoo. And then he's like, I know. I've got to put a jumper on. So he put a jacket on to cover his arm. But he still had his like lion hand tattoo there. So like you could still see his tattoo.
I know.
I don't know. Like she's so beautiful. She didn't address anything about the tattoo. She just gave him a big hug and stuff like that. But to him it was funny because I was like, you don't have to do that. It's okay. But it showed me like he really wanted to respect her, which is really cool.
Aww.
Yeah. So it's not really embarrassing, but it was cute.
We just won't tell her about the tattoos that I'm going to be getting. Anyway, sorry.
No comment. Sorry. So sorry.
Anyway.
Next question.
Yeah, but that's I don't know. I didn't have a glove, bro. So like I couldn't cover my hand.
Was this in summer though or something like that? Or
no.
What season was this in?
Was it in winter? It actually might
it was in winter. Okay.
Because I had a jumper.
Why would you wear a glove? Like that's so strange.
I don't know. I was nervous like if I'm going to meet your parents and on top of that, I hadn't met your dad yet. That was the most intimidating one.
But my dad wasn't even meeting him then.
I did meet him.
Not then.
Oh, we just said hello. He just popped his head out and said hello and walked away. And he said hello though.
He's not social, okay?
Yeah. No, he was really nice. And so was your mum and they were so welcoming. But I was so nervous. Like,
of course.
It was our first time ever doing anything like that. I was so nervous, bro. I was scared. I was terrified.
Well, let's go even earlier. What was it like in those early kind of days where it's like, because I mean, I think we teach here like your wife's your best friend.
Yeah.
So, how do you get a best friend? You get a friend. How do you get a friend? You get an acquaintance.
Yeah, 100%.
How do you get an acquaintance? You got to talk to people.
Good.
So what was it like? What was it like there was like early couple of months where it was just like, because you were both serving in young adults, right?
Yeah. And
then you kind of just started talking and then what was that like back when we first?
Jake.
I think it was fun. I don't know. We were kind of put together.
He claimed me.
No.
No, his words. He said
okay. Well, you gotta explain that now, Jake. Come on.
No, it was like.
No, you did say it, baby.
No, because she was new to the church, right?
So it
was new to the church.
I didn't know this. I had no idea. But you know what? I
didn't actually do it. Like I didn't proclaim it.
No, you didn't say everyone. No.
Yeah.
No.
You sent us all a message and said, "Hey, no one." I got Chelsea.
No, so I'm not I wasn't a very social person.
Yeah.
Did a group chat.
Yeah. Oh my god.
All the boys in there.
Explain it.
So I wasn't a very social person back then, right? Yeah. So I would still serve in the church and stuff. And people who knew me, but I wasn't like what I am today where I talk to everybody and a little bit of an extrovert. But I was much more of an introvert back then. And so how old was I? Like 20, 21?
20? Yeah, I think it's
20, 21. And like she first came to the church and obviously I was keen. And so I would just talk to her a lot in public, if that makes sense. So it was me showing that like I like her. Does that make sense? Yeah. It wasn't to other people. There was not much single people at the time.
No, that's true.
You know, so it wasn't
especially
like I was like
post-COVID.
I wasn't a dog like chucking a wee on his territory, but it was more, that's so bad. Anyway, but it was more just like I was just, you know, showing that, you know, I was interested. Yeah. And also I was probably showing to everybody else, but I wasn't doing it to show to people. I was doing it to show to her and also myself. Like I was proving to myself that I could go and talk to this girl. And, you know, I did it in the past, but it was really, I was really trying to pursue that, but then obviously it didn't work the first time. Anyway, but we could probably get into that.
Yeah. Hold on, but in my side during that, when I first came to church, his mum obviously was a young adult pastor, and I remember catching up, and dad, sorry, but obviously I caught up with both of them first, but then after that I caught up with just the mum, and I remember her saying, hey, like, oh, how old are you again? And I was like, oh, I'm 21. I think I said 21. Bro. I must have been 21. She said, oh yeah, I've got 4 boys. One of them's your age, you know. Oh, that's really interesting and fascinating. I was like, oh, okay, cool. So she low key like definitely like planted the seed in that.
Was kind of like pitching Jake already.
It was
100%.
an arranged
100%.
It was an arranged marriage because so on top of that, right, my parents, right, I love my parents, and everybody who's watching, you love my parents too,
and they'll say if they watch this, they'll say they planned it because they knew.
Yeah,
God
and they'll claim it. No, they will claim this. They will, dude. They won't even reject this. They will actually claim this. They will claim that they arranged this.
Chelsea is going to be Jake's wife.
Dad says to this day.
Yeah, 100%.
He says that as soon as I met Chelsea, he goes, I knew she would be your wife.
Oh wow,
yeah,
I was like,
crazy.
Brother. Anyway, so.
They planned it.
I don't know whether to like it or not. Anyway,
no, it's a good thing.
I love it. Of course, I love it. But you know, it was funny how like it was weird. Like, but you know, I wouldn't have if I knew that. I probably wouldn't have But it was just that God just did it anyway. Yeah. So it shows that it was God that they were listening to.
Exactly.
So yeah, we did prayer all night prayer that one time.
Yes.
Oh, the 24-hour prayer.
Yeah,
24-hour prayer, right?
That was crazy.
And that was crazy, right? Yeah. It was really fun and stuff. And I think I was there the whole 24 hours.
Yeah, same here.
And there was a few of us. Yeah. And you were too, yeah. And so it was organized by dad and mum. Oh. You can see where I'm going with this. And I was one of the leaders running the prayers. But guess who was on?
I was.
No.
Because I asked first, I want to be a leader that does the 3 a.m.
Yeah, that's right. I remember one of them. Yeah.
Right?
You guys
and then your parents are, oh, you know, we got to put you with someone because, you know, you're a woman and it's early hours of the morning.
And that's when your boy came in.
Well, maybe they told Jake something different and that Chelsea got added to his one.
No. Yeah, maybe. I thought that they were like trusting me spiritually. Oh, like I was reaching. I was like, oh, you know, I'm going to run a prayer. I was like, oh, this is cool because I started getting a bit of a hunger for not just ministry but for God. Yeah. And so it was before I was even with you that we had this hunger going. 100%, so we started stepping out in different ways. I think I preached at young adults maybe once or twice by then, and
we weren't even talking that much.
Yeah, like, we weren't really talking at all. And so when we got put on prayer together,
it was like, what?
I was like, oh. It was like awkward because it was like, I think we already spoke before that. Yeah, so I don't know. It was weird. But anyway, I guess God just sort of made a way.
It was awkward, but it was really positive because at the end of it, I actually reflected back and I was like, oh, we actually worked really well together. Yeah, because in the beginning, I was like, oh, this is going to be so awkward. Like, how are we going to work together and pray? And obviously, you know, like 2 single people at the time was like, oh, this is like either set up or like, what the heck is going on, you know? And at the end of it, it was like, oh no, that was like, quite good. Like it was chill. It wasn't pressured or anything. Yeah. But going back to the story, I think you have to hit on that because you keep mentioning that story of how we like first. Yeah. But basically we first, you know, met each other. I was the first one that texted Jake first. Oh. And so I just texted him, hey, actually it was on my birthday. Oh. And
and the rest is history. No.
Yeah, like, but
like that kind of history? Like,
no, but basically, we were talking. We never really went on a date or anything. But one day I had this dream and it was basically I was in this ute and Jake was driving the car.
My ute.
Yeah, his ute. And he was driving the car and I remember it so vividly that I was driving and this person like pulled up right next to us. And the guy fully shot me in the head, like the driver next to me. And I woke up and I was like, oh my gosh, Lord, like what is this dream? Or why did I dream this dream? Was it from the enemy? Is it from God? Like what's going on? And I just felt this like, no, we can't go in this relationship right now. And so I remember texting him saying, hey, we got to catch up for coffee and just talk. And then we went to Zaraffa's, but Zaraffa's was closed.
A public holiday. I told him that.
Yeah. But I was like, oh, it's okay. We can just sit in the car park. And he was like, what the heck? Like, what's this conversation?
Anyway, and then I got her in. And then I said, I'll just sit in the car because it looks weird. We're just standing outside our cars talking.
Yeah.
And it was winter. It was cold.
Yeah. It was a bit strange in the car
So we sat in the car and then she was just like, I think we should just be friends. I was like, I thought we were friends.
I know, but that really hurt me. It really hurt me because I thought we were actually getting to know each other and actually progressing in a relationship.
But that's why I think we weren't ready. I think because we didn't have the same, we weren't equally, like we weren't on the same page. We weren't not equally yoked because we were both hungry for the things of God. But I just think that we weren't on the same page when it comes to like what was happening. Because
so
in my head,
so what was going on in your head in that season?
In my head in that season, people can learn from this, is especially, young adult single, people, it was like, for me, it was just friendship.
Yeah.
Because honestly, like, of course, I liked her, I thought she was hot. And anyway, but I liked her and all these different things. But it was like, I didn't have that. I still was making friends because for me, I didn't want to go all in on something, especially because I knew that I had to wait on God. And I've always been that person. I've never been someone who's tried to make things happen. If God makes it happen and it sits itself in front of me, then I'll take it. Like every single opportunity God has given us in our lives as a married couple as well is always been is if God puts it in front of us and he makes it happen, like he presents the opportunity, then I jump at it. But if it's not, God putting it there, then I'm not going to go try and force something to happen. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
So with her, it was like, it was just a friendship. Yeah. And I was like, oh, if this turns into anything, cool, but I'm really just focusing on being friends with her. Yeah, we were both into working out at the time. She was really
connected. Yeah.
She was training every day. I was training every day. It was just,
we had a competition of who could get abs first.
Yeah, we were just into the fitness thing as well. Yeah. We had common interests, but that was probably the second time I think we had common interests.
Yeah. But basically, after that, happened.
What did you see it as though?
Well, I honestly was like, okay, I'm texting this guy as a friend. Like, I like him and I do want to pursue that. But as soon as that dream hit me, I was like, God, what the heck's going on? And I was like, okay, maybe it's not the right timing or maybe he's not the one for me. Because in that moment, I still liked you, but when you said, oh, we're friends, I was like, oh my gosh, I've read the whole thing wrong. And I actually really liked him. So I actually was so cut. Like, I actually cried.
Yeah.
Like, I was so cut. And I was like, what the heck's happening? And then I was like, okay, maybe he's not meant to be for me. And maybe God really protected me from that. Or maybe he's going through something in his season right now that he's just not ready for a relationship. And I had to just accept that. And then it was this journey a year. So that was like a year. And then the second year, it was just us serving, we were both in YA leadership. And we both were actually doing youth leadership as well.
Yeah. Not till later though. It was just you, I think, for a bit. And then I joined after.
Then Jake joined. Yeah. But then we just we were on our own paths, We were just on our own paths, doing our own thing. And then basically, God really shifted and turned it around. And
we started talking again just randomly. Yeah. And that's when we had all the interests and stuff like that. But like I said, we waited for God, I think, to present it and for God to do it. Like it wasn't forced by our hand. It wasn't forced by my ambition or her ambition or anything like that. It was just like, if God's going to do something, then he will do it.
Yeah. It'll happen.
And like we had, we had times in that situation, right? There was a guy you were talking to after that. Like she spoke to a guy and then that didn't work out. I was talking to a girl, a couple of girls, and then didn't work out. And it was just like, it wasn't working. We tried to, God, it wasn't God, obviously, that those things presented themselves. Or maybe there was just God teaching us something through friendships and stuff. But it was just like, it didn't work. And then all of a sudden it just aligned again and it all worked out.
And for me, I think also like it was really hard for me because I was so hurt from it from the before. I think it was 100% a God thing because I couldn't see myself going back to you because I got so hurt. And obviously a lot of people can speak on that when you get emotionally so drawn and even if like nothing, you haven't touched each other, you haven't kissed each other, nothing emotionally gets so connected that it really takes a long time to heal. And it took me a long time, it did. And that's why, God just shifted my heart one day and was like, hey, you know, Chelsea, I want you to create a clothing brand. That's what like God told me to do. And he gave me the image of the logo. And I was like, oh my gosh, I don't know how to create a logo. And then all of a sudden in my head, I was like, oh, Jake's a graphic designer. Like, let me ask him. And then I started coming to church and he's like design, you know, the logo for me.
Because I think you were doing it for young adults.
Yeah.
At the time. And so mum and dad were young adults pastors and they were like, you know, I think they said, you should do it. And then, but you were already keen on making one. Yeah. And then you just transferred it to young adults because I think young adults had the money to buy it.
And you know what the craziest thing is? This is how cool God is, right? So the logo was meant to be like a fire and then like 2 angel wings next to it. And Jake created it. And I said, I want it to be called Radical. No joke, Radical.
Oh,
and it's Radical Youth now.
Yeah.
So God uses everything for good. And, you know, like looking back, it's like from that little seed, look at it. Because I remember when we were discussing about, what's going to be our youth name? You know, what's youth going to be called? We want to shift the name. And I was like, let's do Radical Youth, you know. And he's like, nah, like, you know, it sounds simple, you know. But look at it where it is today. It's Radical Youth. And that is actually from that. You know, funny, that's from that. Yeah, it's
dude,
cool.
That's so funny. I actually have a story from that time as well.
Yeah, go for it.
Back when I used to work here, and you used to be in the graphic design office.
You used to
walk past me. But then every time you'd close the door, I'm like, he's talking to Chelsea. And then when you'd finish, you'd open it back up.
Shame.
You'd be on the phone.
Yeah, you'd be on the phone with her.
Oh, shame. That's funny.
I was saying when she'd come in.
Was in on this.
Yeah. I kind of knew from very early on.
Yeah. It was,
You were blessed.
And a lot of people, I think, were sort of already throwing it out there, like we should get together.
Yeah.
But we also, I want to go into another thing too about courting and dating.
Yes.
Because so all that happened and we end up, you know, eventually, you know, saying, you know, well, I think we were just talking and then eventually it was like, I like you, you know, you like me.
Yeah.
But before we even went on a date together, like one-on-one date, a proper date, we made sure that we did the group date.
Yeah.
100%.
And I was talking, I literally talked, just last week I was talking to someone about this. And I feel like every week because obviously now being young adults pastor, it's like,
girls about it all the time.
you're always mentioning this season of our life. But is we always talk about how the group's dating stage because I think in my opinion, and look, if you didn't do it, I'm not hating on you or whatever, but I'm just going to say this. I think I just spat on the mic. I think every young adult couple or, you know, courting and dating or maybe just like each other or any young adult in church, a Christian young adult, you should all do the group dating stage.
100%.
Like as in group dating, what does that mean? Okay. So Chelsea and we wanted to date. We didn't say that we did, but we wanted to.
Yeah.
And the only way we could do that without making it weird and also without going out together one-on-one, we wanted to test and see friends and stuff like this.
Yeah.
So, and we didn't even communicate this. We just did it. So I would be like to my friends, I'd be like, let's go, you're coming with me. I'm going out. We're going to the movies. Chelsea is bringing her friends. Yeah. And then we would just meet up as a group, like 5 of us or something like that, 6 of us. And we would just meet up. And I think your brother and that came out one time. And we just met up. We went to the city at one time.
We rode scooters in the city.
We went around the city. We
also like, you know, hanging out on a Sunday night after dinner, after church. Like we did that a lot as well.
Yeah. And we just did stuff like that, and we just made every effort to do group dating. And we didn't call it group dating, but looking back, it was. Yeah. And it was like the baby's obviously kicking.
Yeah.
And so it was like, we just did that. Like and like it sounds weird. Like we just told our friends to come. We did, but because they were supportive.
Were so supportive.
They were supportive.
So
they were like
keen.
they had no interest. Like I promise you that Chelsea's friend has no interest in any of my friends. And my friends had no interest.
They're all single. So and they were kind of like, we'll suss it out. Yeah. But they weren't interested.
They weren't.
But they were just like, let's hang out and have fun.
Yeah. Solely there to support us. And I think that's what you have to take into your consideration is your friend groups.
Yes.
Yeah.
And okay, are they there to solely support you?
Yeah.
They have no interest, have no agenda. Yeah. I'll tell you why. Because one of my friends was my brother and he was like 18, I think. He was so young. And compared to us, we were like 20, 21. Yeah. And so I promise you, he doesn't care about any of that stuff. So and if you know Jack, you know. But so it was like there was none of that, and I think the thing is they were there to support us, and we made sure we had that. So group dating is very important in my opinion.
Yes,
and I think everyone should do that before you get to the one-on-one dating
because it's about accountability.
100%.
Yeah, you got to be accountable. You know, if we're talking real spiritual, serious, like God's daughter, God's son. You know, you want to protect each other. I think we push purity a lot.
Yes, 100%.
And it's important that you stay pure in those early stages because if you don't end up together, what are you doing to another man's wife?
I would say
or
this.
Another.
I would even go as deep to say this, that young adults or young people who have sex before marriage almost put it in the 90% of the time. Fail. That relationship or friendship doesn't work out.
And hear us out, not saying that if you did it, you can't heal from that. And you can have purity in that. Because so many weddings, like we're going to weddings today and, people have fallen and, they've found purity in that before they get married. So you can still, get married and be pure with the other person through that. But we're recommending to not,
Yeah. And but I would say, like I said, 90s though. So there's always the percentage that doesn't. But like you just said, but there's always the ones that it work out. Everything goes, and that's fine. That's 100% true. There's grace and mercy, but at the same time, I mean, look, like let's be honest, we weren't perfect.
No,
and I'll say this all the time: we weren't perfect. We didn't have sex before marriage, but we weren't perfect, and we had moments of temptation,
100%,
and where we could have fell, but 100%. We just kept getting back up again, and we didn't let it affect us. And this is the problem, though, is that. Like I said, 90%, I reckon, in my opinion, in my experience as well, is it doesn't work out because they let their emotions get involved. But also, don't put yourself in that position. Like honestly, when we found that we started to get the temptation and we started putting ourselves in positions where things could happen, then we started to go, okay, I remember you said it because she was always stronger than me. You said it. You said the 10 p.m. curfew. So I had to have her back at home before 10 p.m. And that was where it was like, okay, well then I got to get her home before 10 p.m. Otherwise it's not going to be good. So we always made sure we did that. And that's something, in my opinion, you just got to not put yourself in that position. If you're going to go over something there and it's user alone or don't do it.
But you know what's even cooler? I actually spoke to a girl group last week about it and talking about the 10 p.m. thing. And
the YA Girls Bible Study.
Even they actually all admitted and were like, oh my gosh, 10 p.m. you're so right, because they said everything that's happened in their past or something, one of the girls, she said, it happens at nighttime when I'm alone and when it's nighttime and emotions are flying like anything. So all of them were like, actually like, oh wow, like we actually need to really put this in place, like have a boundary and have a goal to strive
through. Boundary, yes. Boundaries are so important. It's not restricting you in any way. It's like,
exactly.
It's keeping you both pure because like, look, if it's meant to be, you're going to get married one day, like, can you not wait like, I don't know, like a year, couple of months, a little bit longer before you can then like, it's all unlocked, so to speak.
Yeah, so boundaries, I think, especially being strong and both of you working together in the boundary because one person can be strong, but at the end of the day, the other person can persuade you. Be like, oh no, let's hang out or let's go to the park or let's go get Yoshi or let's go get ice cream or whatever. But Jake loves Yoshi. But like it's important for both of you to be on par with, hey, we're both deciding, we're both going to do this. Because actually before we even decided we were dating, Jake, I actually did a fast for a month of the phone.
I remember that. I remember that.
So I got a flip phone, for a month because I was really challenged by God not to use my phone and social media just just have a cleanse and a refreshing period. And I remember we weren't even dating and I think it was like the third or second day I did it. Jake was like, oh, hey, I'm going to go do that as well and support you.
I remember when he got it.
Yeah, and that really highlighted so much to me because I was like, oh my gosh, he's going to like support me in that. And a beautiful moment. So he got one. And then I remember going to the beach with my good friend and I had my flip phone and she thought I was like, she was like, go you, good job. But she was a bit like, oh, this is bizarre. Because here's me. I only had my mum, my dad, and Jake on my contact list on my phone. So they're the only ones I added on and my brother and sister, of course. and my friend, but they were like the only ones I was texting. And, you know, old school texting, like use the K or the LUV or, you know, it was a lot of patience.
I just ended up speaking into it.
Oh, mine didn't do that.
Oh, yeah, it did.
My phone didn't do that.
Yeah, because you showed me how to do it.
Oh, okay, maybe it did. But it also made me not text as much because I had to take so long to text, which is such a good cleanse of people just texting like crazy. But I remember being on the beach with my friend and I was texting Jake, and that's actually when he first invited me out for my first date. Ooh. And I was like, because he asked about going bowling, and I was like, I don't really want to go bowling. Because that's everyone goes bowling. No, sorry, babe. We didn't go bowling. But we went to the movies. But,
nice.
But I really think it's important because when you meet that person, like that person should support you in what you do.
Yes,
because for me, like I had that fast, you know, to do that phone. And him jumping on that, I remember telling my mum saying, "Oh my gosh, Jake's actually doing it with me." But also, like she was like, "Whoa, what the heck?" Like,
and the reason why I did it was also, it wasn't because it was you doing it. I also did it because God told me to do it because you were catching a lot of judgment because you did do it.
I was.
There was a lot of, at the time in the young adults community, she got a bit of judgment because she did do it. Like people were like, oh, like what the, like.
Oh, obviously, she went to the dumb phone. Oh, really?
Yeah, so there was like at one life group that there was a bit of like shade thrown and stuff and like a bit of an argument sort of thing. And I think me and my dad stepped in.
Yeah.
And we were a little bit like, sort of like, like shut up sort of thing. We didn't say that, but we wanted to. But because there was a little bit of shade, like a judgment towards her because she did choose to do it. Like it's weird. Like why would you judge someone for doing that?
Yeah.
But
what the heck?
it was also, I think maybe they just felt like, oh, she thinks she's too cool or something.
Yeah, or too godly or something.
Or too godly or something because obviously they're a bit church-wise.
Or a bit convicted in that area.
Yeah, and as we know. But so anyway, it was fine. Yeah. But so when that happened, that's when I was like, okay, no, I'm gonna do it with her, and let's see if they say something about it. Because I was a bit upset, you know what I mean? Like, just because we weren't even that close. We were, but we were talking. But and so that was a little bit thing of me. Like it was like, you know, see if you can say something about me doing it, you know? And they didn't. So, but and so that happened and that was really good because like I said, the reason why I did it wasn't because I could try and get with her because we were already talking at the time, but it was also because I wanted to support her in that. So I would probably say to even, you know, some of the young adult girls, like, what is the guy that you're talking to right now, or maybe you're, you know, what is he willing to do to support you, and stuff like that.
How does he bring you closer to God?
Yes.
Because at the end of the day, you know, like Jake and I, and that shows you that it's such a God thing. You know, we did prayer together in leadership. You know, we were put together in that. You know, we did a Bible study plan for 21 days. I remember we did that when we were first talking. You know, all those things like actually.
This is before we were dating.
Yeah.
Like I think we have to emphasize that. Like this is before we said we were girlfriend, boyfriend.
Yeah.
Like we didn't say that until I think it was like a third date, second or third date. And it was like, we didn't actually say, oh, we're dating now. And we didn't make it official until then, you know, but we did all these things together because we were hungry for God.
Yes.
And I think the most important thing is, and we say this to everybody that we talk to, not just people in relationships, but people in young adults in general, is you got, and youth as well, you got, like when you're making a decision, you got two options. Either this brings you closer to God or further away. And that's the cheat code for life. In my opinion, the cheat code for life in every area, in business, in finances, in career, in family, in relationships, in anything you do in your life, is this going to bring you closer to God or further away? And if it brings you further away, it's not of God. But if it brings you closer, then it's of God. And so you obviously go with the one that brings you closer to God, right? So that was what we did. And she was bringing me closer to God. I was bringing her closer to God. And we were going closer together.
Yes.
Yeah.
And in doing that, we did Bible studies together. We ended up starting a prayer group in young adults when we started dating. And you're already doing the prayer walk, but then we did Radical Faith. And that was... radical faith prayer or something like that.
We did radical.
Yeah, we just love that word. Anyway, so like we were always doing that, and it was interesting. And I think because we made that decision early on, like, is this bringing me closer or further away? It was just that she had such a hunger for God. It was so attractive to me. I remember, obviously anyone who goes to the barbershop and you get a haircut from your barber, it's your therapist basically. And Nigel, shout out to Nigel and Charlie and all the boys at the barbershop. But men's cuts home view, you can go get a haircut if you want. But I was there and I would just vent like to Nigel and stuff and Charlie. And I remember just saying to him one time, I was like, bro, I really want to get to know Chelsea. Like I really like, and not even in the sense of like, I want to date her or anything. I just want to be her friend. Because I just had this, she was so hungry for the Lord.
For a whole year.
Yeah, she was so hungry for the Lord. I just wanted to, get closer to that hunger. And it was so like, because I was hungry at the time as well. And it was crazy. So,
and that's such a good point too. Like you think about it, like you have to be so confident in God, and God is teaching you so many things, and you're you're grounded in your faith. And that's actually what, like Jake's saying, is what attracted him to me is because of the quality of God that you have in your life. And I think that's a big thing nowadays, because I was actually talking to the girls again last week about the difference. Like girls actually finding guys attractive when they're so, worshiping well, when they see them praying, when they see them serving. And that actually draws like a Christian girl, oh my gosh, wow, like you're actually so servant-hearted, which God calls, like he wants your husband to be like that. He wants, them to be like that. But then we also, like, this is a good topic to go into, but we were also talking about lust and how that changes and how, you're not looking at that guy in that way of, your servanthood, you're called and you're praying for people and you're loving on people. But
like hey, when you're in lust,
but in lust, you're looking at them,
how attractive they are physically.
What do they look like? In different appearances and all these things. And we were talking about how like it compares and how God's called us not to be lustful, because that's such a self thing. However, like looking at, as someone with the qualities of God and carries and carries those qualities is what we seek. And obviously also from the male perspective too, it's what you seek in a female. You want them to serve. You want them to love on people. You want them to be kind and, be Jesus' hands and feet. And so, I think I think especially in young adults, that's the biggest thing to like know, hey, what's the differences between lust and what God calls us to be, and how to hold ourselves accountable to that.
And I would encourage anyone who's trying to figure out, okay, what's the difference? Read 1 Corinthians 13.
Yeah,
it says
love.
What love is, and love is patient, love is kind. And you hear it at weddings and everything, but it's scripture. True. It's actually true what love is. And so if you're struggling to figure that out, read scripture, read 1 Corinthians 13.
God is love.
And it'll tell you what love is. And you start to realize that, there's another scripture that says, man looks at outward appearance, but God looks at the heart. And I think we have to do that as well as humans. As a pastor, I'm constantly having to look past the outward appearance and look at the heart. I'm constantly having to look past the immediate things that get thrown in my face, which might be their problems and their struggles. And I have to look at the heart. And there's another, like I'm gonna reference Carl Lance, but
the heart throws off things.
Exactly. From your heart, the mouth speaks. So you can always tell by the way people speak, by the way people act, and what's their heart like.
And how they're going with God, because their heart reflects on that.
And so I think, that's what we have to do. When you might be a young adult, you might be single, and you might be someone who just is looking for that opportunity, and God's given you the thing of you're going to get married one day, but now you're just waiting for it. I would not go looking for it, actively searching like crazy, but be open and see what God does. But I would say that you got to look at the heart. Like I was about to reference Carl Lance, but I'm just going to do it anyway. And he did a book, and his book is actually quite good. But so in his book, he talks about finding the gold in the garbage. And it's important we have to look for the gold in the garbage because, they talk about a story where there was literally a guy in a garbage bag they found in King's Cross or something, and they opened it up and there was a guy in there. Crazy. I think it was Joel Houston.
Oh my gosh.
So anyway, but there's that story. But just looking for the gold in the garbage means you're looking past the things that are immediately in front of you that might not be so good. And as a pastor, like I said, you have to do that because you have to see through that to see what they really want, what's their heart yearning for, and maybe even past the things, the immediate things, and see what God could do in the future in their life. And so, and in leadership, you have to do this too. I'm still saying a relationship, but I'm trying to reference it because I think it's important to have the parallels. Is in leadership, you're looking for, okay, and when you're building teams, and Ed would know this too, is the immediate things there that might have a lot of problems, might be messy, might not be organized, might be this. But if you look past that and you look to what God could do, the potential that they have inside of them, it's like everybody else might overlook them because man looks at the outward, but God looks at the heart. I see that with Chelsea. When we first started talking, I guarantee you 100% people told her to stay away from me. Not because, not because of, not because of anything I've done, but because maybe my outward appearance, maybe the way I carried myself, and because the person that I used to be, I was a little bit more reserved.
I looked at Jake's heart.
But you look past that and you look at the heart. And then I think God repays that and sees what God could do in the future.
Of course,
And then see the man that later came, but because of what God did, by the grace of God. But you got to look past the garbage and look for the gold. And, I'm not saying to go and date someone who has clearly a bunch of red flags. I'm not saying that. I'm saying, maybe the immediate things that don't really mean much, or maybe the fleshly things, maybe it's the looks, maybe it's the way they dress,
or the
maybe
money,
it's all these different things. Like, I mean, the way I used to dress back then was terrible, bro. It was so bad, man. Like, who wears Nike sports shorts with TNs to church on a Sunday? I don't know, but that person did. So anyway, anyone who does, Riley, it's all good. But yeah, you know what I mean? So, there's obviously a rawness in that as well. But I just think there's looking past the garbage, looking for the gold, and God does something in that.
And I think what's also like the key point as well, like Jake's saying, you can be open. It's not saying jump out in the sea and go see and talk to multiple people. It's more, hey, you can have a conversation with the opposite sex and not let it not go deep. Like you can be friends, because at the end of the day, you have to be that person's friends before you
like
be
Ed was saying,
their partner, their wife or their husband, because when your kids grow up, you're ending up with your spouse. Like, and you need to know their heart. You need to know who they are in Christ and who they, what are their hobbies and what do they enjoy. But I think also, when you go out and say, hey, I'm going to, just talk to different people, talk on a Sunday and stuff. If you find someone attractive in the qualities of God, hear me out, you just chuck it on the shelf. You say, hey, Lord, I'm putting this on the shelf with you. I'm not going to fantasize. I'm not going to overthink every conversation. I'm not going to do, because I know girls and boys we both tend to overthink situations. And I know for me, I was one that overthinked a lot. And so I went on this journey with God, and God saying, hey, Chelsea, put it on the shelf and wait for my timing. Thank you for addressing this, and thank you for giving me this, that you like this person, but right now you're still focusing on me. But you just need to put it on the shelf. And then God's timing comes through. And also it shows you're not idolizing that person. You're not putting that person before God, but you're also, letting God know, hey, God, you're in control of my life. You're the one that's going to speak into this. So I'm giving it to you. You know what I mean?
And I think, verse 4 of 1 Corinthians 13 says love is patient. So you got to be patient. You got to have patience. And it's a fruit of the Spirit too. Love is kind. Love does not envy, is not boastful, is not arrogant, is not rude, is not self-seeking, is not irritable, and does not keep a record of wrongs. Love finds no joy in unrighteousness, but rejoices in the truth. Like, if we want to reflect love in our life, we have to reflect these things. And so, when we think about marriage, relationships, friendships, dating, stuff like this, you got to get onto what are you reflecting. So, and you are what you're going to get what you attract. You attract what you are. So, like, if you want someone who's godly, pure, which is what I wanted, and in my experience before I was with Chelsea, I didn't have that with other girls that I was talking to. There was never any purity. There was never any, none of that. And so I had to realize that if I wanted that, I have to start to be that.
Yes.
And so I had to cut off so many things in my life.
Yeah.
And I had to do all these things because if I really wanted to get a wife one day that God had for me, that was pure, that was, godly, that was, consistent in church, that was doing all these things, then I had to actually do that myself.
Yes.
And then eventually that happened. And I think that's where a lot of people get to that place, and it's like, oh, this is hard because they start realizing, oh, I got to change.
Yeah.
It's like, yes, you have to change.
Yeah.
Yes, you have to put in work.
Yeah.
Yes, you have to read your Bible. Yes, you have to pray. Yes, you have to have a relationship with God. Yes,
and
you have to serve.
You should want to do that too.
Yes, 100%. But that's where I mean, that's and that's what I think. People want the promise over the promiser.
Yeah.
And we get so caught up, seek first the kingdom and everything else will be added.
Yes.
We don't seek first the kingdom. We just want
the final.
We just want we just want the promise, not the promiser. We just want what comes with we want the blessing without to pursue the one who blesses.
Yes.
So we got to get more on fire for Jesus. We got to get more on fire for God. We got to really go after God. You know, the Bible says David had a heart after God's own heart.
Yeah.
He was blessed with all these things, but that's not what was important to him. What was important to him was just being after God's own heart, was just seeking God, was going after God and the things that God had for him and his relationship with God. Like I found, in my opinion, that God started opening doors with Chelsea as soon as I was intimate with the Father.
Yeah,
when I was way more intimate with God and I had my own time of prayer, my own time of worship, and I was so on fire for Jesus.
Because your first love is God.
Exactly. That's when the door opened for Chelsea.
Yeah.
And then even then, at that point, I was like, oh, this still might not be of God because I was so caught up with God. I was just like, if this happens, cool. And that's why I think I had we're just friends, because I was like, this isn't all that is for me. Yeah, I'm content in myself. Yeah. And I think and Paul talks about it, and it talks about finances specifically, but we can relate this to relationships or friendships or blessings in life in general. And we can relate this in goals, ambitions, stuff like this is, Paul says, I'm content with what with little, and I'm content with much. It doesn't matter to me no matter what, because I'm still going to be okay because I've got Christ. And we have to get to that point as young adults, as people who are looking, or eventually that, God has something for you when it comes to dating and marriage. You got to be content in where you are. Yeah. And until you're content in where you are, you will never see what God has for you. Yeah. And you will never see that blessing on the other side. Once you're content, that's when he will start to bring about things. And even then, when he brings about those things, you won't even see them as like, oh, this is the promise I've been waiting for. It doesn't even cross your mind because you're too caught up in the promiser. You're too caught up in Jesus. That doesn't even matter to you anymore. Yeah. And that's where I think a lot of people get to.
Yes.
And God starts saying, okay, now you got to start making change.
Yeah, come on.
And then they're like, oh man, I can't even be bothered changing. Yeah. Or I don't want to change. That's too hard. I was cleaning the house yesterday night and last night. And we were cleaning out some of the rooms, right? And I was like, Chelsea and I were moving things around. We were vacuuming, we were cleaning, we were scrubbing. We were just doing a bit of a deep clean in the house. And I remember I was in the front room and I was vacuuming or I was doing something, and I was like, we have a front room. Yeah. Okay, basically we have 4 bedrooms in our house. Yeah. The front room is sort of the room that just gets disregarded. Like we don't really care about that room. We don't really use it. So it just sits there dormant. There's not really much in there. It's just empty and it's just nothing going on. But I walked in there and I was like, because we just got blessed with some like a bookshelf and stuff, which I've been trying to do that with my front room to turn it into a bit of a study for a while. Yeah. And so it finally started to happen, right? And I remember vacuuming and I'm like, man, we always have this one room in the house that we just don't really touch and we don't really do anything with, and it's sort of just there. We're definitely going to have to start because we got another one on the way, a little girl on the way. Yeah. But so we're probably going to be using all the rooms. But, at the moment, it's just that one room. And what reminded me was that like sometimes we can be like that with God, where we can have that one room in our house, in our heart, where we just don't let God in, and we're just like sort of leave that room. Yeah. Like, oh, don't worry about that room. You can come in all these other rooms. I got the kids' room, I got all these rooms, but don't go into that room because we'll just leave that door closed. And I think maturing in Christ is realizing that you're gonna have to deal with that one room one day. And for me, it was addiction. in my point in life when I was, before I got with Chelsea. And I knew I had to deal with it. Yeah, I knew I had to deal with it.
Yeah.
And the only way I was going to get, because I remember I was praying for Chelsea for 12 months. Yeah. And I was like, I know that God has this for me. And
so hold on, this is when, after we had that story about the dream, after then when I was like hurt from it, little did I know God put on Jake's heart to pray for me for that year. And all he wanted to do is be my friend. And then I had no idea. And that's when God shifted my heart because it was through his prayer. Yeah. So keep going.
And so, that like, that's good. That's good context because it makes sense now. But yeah, so it was like, I was praying and I remember God gave me this thing. I always say this to some of the guys who are watching. You're probably like, oh, he's saying the story again, but I don't care. I love to say it because it's a good way to share. You know, I have like Mario. Anyone who played Mario? Okay, yeah. You're playing Mario and they're jumping on all the. You go through the map, right, and the pipes and dodging things. Yeah. When you get to the end, there's like the flagpole that Mario jumps on. He slides down, the flag goes up. That was for me, Chelsea. So it was weird. I know it's weird. I was yeah. So for me, the goal was to get to the relationship, the friendship. I didn't even know if it was going to be my wife. I just wanted to develop a relationship with her because she was so on fire for God and I wanted that purity. I wanted to get to that. So I wanted to jump on that and that was it. So for me, it was getting rid of my addiction. Yeah. And the only way I was going to get to the flagpole and jump on it like Mario was and slide down and finish the map, right, was for me to get through my addiction and to defeat my addiction. And that was the room that I didn't left unturned because it was like, look, 99% of men struggle with that. And so it was like, I just had to, get through that and look, and that's what God did. But it's because of the work I had that, not the work, it was all by God's grace. Yes. But when you start to realize that you need to let God in and to take care of those things, to cut these things off, a lot of men or young women as well give up and they're just like, you know what, I'm just going to keep living the way I'm living. It's not hurting anyone, blah, blah, blah. But ultimately, it's hurting your destiny. It's hurting the future that God has for you. And, Bible says God, it's hurting God. Like you turning back on him is like, he wants you. He loves you. He's the prodigal son. I reread that story just yesterday, but I read a different take on it, a commentary. And it's like, we can get so caught up in the fact that it was the prodigal son returning. Yeah. But I think the main character in that story was the father, the waiting father who was waiting. And so God's waiting and you just got to run and he'll welcome you with open arms. The problem is we come with a bunch of guilt and shame. Yeah. And so we think we're not worthy of it, but God is there waiting. Yes. So that's what I saw it as. And that's what I'm relating it to is the fact that God, you seek God, seek first the kingdom and he will take care of these things, but let him in those rooms that you don't want to let anyone in. Yeah. Let him deal with those things that you need to deal with because until that happens, then you're never going to see the destiny God has for you. Yeah. That could be career, that could be calling, that could be ministry, that could be relationship, marriage. Specifically, we're talking about relationships. So that person or that goal that you have in your life, the destiny that God has revealed himself, the promise, be more obsessed with the promiser, not the promise. Yeah. And he'll bring about that promise in your life and he'll bless you in that.
There's only one thing I really want to say before we finish, but I really want to encourage any women or men, that are still pure and that have not done anything. Like even if you have not kissed anyone, even if you had not done anything, I think it's such a testimony of the goodness of God because I was that person. I never had sex. I never kissed anyone. Jake was my first boyfriend. Like I was so protected from that. But for many years, I was actually really upset, which is so strange and bizarre, upset that I didn't have a past in that because so many people did, because so many people went through stuff. And it was this thing that people would be like, I did this and then God healed me from that. And now I have this person. And I used to look at it like I was just that goody girl that, people saw me as that, sorry. And so only till like maybe a few years ago, God really healed me and was like, Chelsea, like it's actually a beautiful testimony of my heart for you because you were obedient. You were listening to me, even though you put yourself out there and no one reciprocated that. I healed you from that, and please trust me that I did heal you and I saved you from that, because from now, like, I'm so grateful for that because I have Jake. But I think it's really important that if you're on that journey and you're staying pure, keep yourself accountable and look at it as such a beautiful thing that one day your wife or husband is going to like be so thankful to God that they have you, because, you've only kissed them. Yes. You've only had sex with them. Like, it's actually such a beautiful thing. And God really intends that in marriage. And don't look at it as a negative thing, but rather, wow, God really protected me, and it's a beautiful gift.
And specifically young ladies, like women, like, you don't understand. It's a crown of, for a man to have that is when I told like friends and stuff, I was like, no, I'm the first one she's kissed. They were like, bro, are you serious?
Yeah.
Like,
that's how they act,
you found a miracle.
See, I actually saw that in shamefulness though.
Yeah, but that's how the enemy does it. And that's how your mind will do it because of comparison and whatnot. Yeah. But honestly, it's specifically talking to young ladies and men as well, but young ladies specifically, it's a crown of, I think it says in the Bible somewhere, I forgot where it is, but it says that the wife of a husband is like a crown of glory or, sort of thing. And like, to me, that's 100% true. You look at a man's wife and you see the reflection that he has and vice versa. I just think that like, don't be shameful in that. Don't be guilty because of comparison. 100%. Don't let comparison steal your joy. And that's what that is doing. It's stealing your joy. You thinking that you're missing out on something or you thinking you're wasting away. Another thing, you're not wasting away your years in a single season.
Yeah, that's it.
We spoke about this last week or week before. Like, you're not wasting away your years. This is an opportunity of stewardship where God is inviting you to steward this season that you're in. And how are you going to do that? And then you're not looking, because people who say that, like I said that at one point, right? And I was very young getting married, but at the same time, I felt like that at one point. Yeah. And I remember, because I had other people around me and friends and family getting married. Yeah. And I remember just being like, dude, am I going to get married or, whatnot? But it was like, I remember, and then that was something like a year later, and then I got married. But that's because around the corner, God has something. You never know, so don't give up. Yes. Yeah. Like, honestly, don't give up, because you never know, around the corner there could be something, and it happens so fast. 100%. And then you realize, oh man, I'm so glad I waited, or man, I wish I waited. I don't know what it was, but whatever it is, and just encourage somebody out there. But if we can encourage anybody with anything from this episode, I think it's patience and but I think, most importantly, just pursue God. Yes. Pursue Him and what He wants for your life, and then everything else will be added. Amen. Everything else will come. Everything else, all these doors will open. The opportunity will open. Money, finances will come. Like me and Chelsea were just recently reflecting on a season of financial hardship that we went through like a year and a half ago. Yeah. And maybe even a year ago. Yeah. And we were like, man, we couldn't afford this. We couldn't afford that. And then now it's like, oh man, now God is trusting us with so much more. And now we got to steward it the best way we can. And it's like, but we went through that season and, you look back on it and you're like, man, God was so faithful. So
God still always holds you up.
Yeah, we kept pursuing God though. I think that was what I was trying to get to is we're trying to pursue God, we're pursuing God. And then all of a sudden, oh wow, now we're in a better spot than what we were a year ago. Yep. But because we were so obsessed with God and what He has for us, we didn't even notice it. Yep. So just be obsessed with God. Yes. Be obsessed with God. Don't be obsessed with your relationship. Don't be obsessed with boys. Don't be obsessed with girls. Be obsessed with God. Yeah, pursue God. And watch what He does in your life. So if we can encourage anyone in that episode, right, Ed, is in this episode is go after God, pursue the promise over the promise. Yes. And, I think, especially if we're speaking to young adults and youth and younger people, whoever we're speaking to, but, there's always a point in a Christian's life where they know there's a promise there because either God delivers that to them, speaks that to them, and God does that. And God gives them a glimpse of the promise, but they get too focused on that rather than God, and they end up falling. Yeah. So you need to stay focused on God, and there's promises that the promise is going to come, but you just stay focused on Him and everything else. So make that right choice. But yeah, thank you guys for watching.
Yeah.
Right. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you, Chelsea. Let's
go.
And joining us on episode 8. Episode 8.
Yeah.
2 episodes away from episode 10.
Episode 10.
Make sure you smash the like button.
Yeah. Obliterate it.
Drop a nuke on it.
We keep getting more followers on TikTok. We're getting closer on Instagram too to 100, dude.
So we just passed 100 on TikTok?
Yeah, on TikTok.
Where are we at on Instagram?
I think we've passed 50.
Okay, so we're almost there at 100, and small beginnings, but we're reaching more people for Jesus, and there's 100 people who watch our clips on TikTok. So and if you are following there, thank you, and also just hopefully it's doing something in your life.
Thanks for all the comments calling us unks and dinosaurs from the last episode.
That was really nice of you. I just cop it at youth all the time. I'm just getting smashed, and Ed's been copying it as well. So, but we love it, and we love you because Jesus taught us to turn the other cheek. Like, subscribe, follow us on YouTube, or subscribe on YouTube, and share the video whenever you can. Share it; it helps out more. We want to reach more people for Jesus. That's what it's all about, and so we want to do that. And if you haven't, follow us on social media, Instagram, TikTok. You can see all the clips on there. Ed's been cooking, and and then subscribe on YouTube, and we'll see you guys in episode 9.
Yes, episode 9 at some point.
Yes. Maybe next week. Maybe next week. We'll see you guys soon. Thank you for watching.
Bye, guys.